Hey, it's Jason from Strength Running, and in this video, I'm going to break down how your weekly mileage should look on a daily basis. So no matter if you're running 30 miles a week, 40 miles a week, or even 100 miles a week, now you'll know exactly how your week should look on a daily basis so that you can better plan your training. All right, guys, I'm excited about this. What I'm going to do is write out a bunch of weekly schedules. And more importantly than just giving you the daily totals, what I really want to do is give you the principles that influence why this schedule looks the way that it does, so that if you're writing your own training plan, you know just how to maximize what you get out of your training while at the same time prioritizing injury prevention and staying as healthy as possible. All right, let's get started. All right, now you've been given a sneak peek at our first week of training here. This is a 40 miles per week training schedule, and let's talk about the principles here. Why does this week look the way that it does? And these principles are going to remain about the same for every level of mileage. So we're going to start with 40 because 40 is when things start to get a little bit more complex. And then these same principles are going to hold with us all the way up to a 100-mile training week. So let's look at a 40-mile training week here. So you'll see that we have 5 days of running and a long run on Saturday and then a medium long run on Wednesday. Now, just in terms of definitions, a long run is your longest run of the week. It doesn't need to be double digits. It just needs to be the longest run of the week. And your medium long run is quite simply the second longest run of the week. Now, why does this week look the way that it does? First and foremost, we always want a long run. That's a fundamental principle of distance running. I think every runner should be focusing on a long run. It's the biggest bang for your training buck. That's going to make you the faster runner that I think you know you are. Now, the other thing here is that the number of days that we have during this week are split up into roughly even numbers. So we have a 2-day block here, and then you'll get a day off, and then you have a 3-day block here, and then you'll get a day off. Now what this does is make sure that the overall effort or workload of your training week is split up fairly evenly. It would be, just asking for an injury if we were to put, your faster running workout on Thursday, maybe your medium long run there, and then your long run on Friday. I mean, that's really condensing all of the work into a very short time period. So we don't want to do that. We want to spread those 2 days as far apart as we can. You'll see that there's 2 days in between the medium long run and the long run, and then there's 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, in between the long run and the faster workout. And so this optimizes recovery, and it's going to optimize your performance when it comes to those days. All right, let's see what a 60-mile week looks like. Okay, now we're looking at a 60-mile training week. We're starting to get into the big boy and big girl mileages here. So you'll see that now we've transitioned to 6 days of running. We only have 1 day off on Friday. Same principles here. We have a long run, a medium long run. Now you might be asking, why is the day after the long run a fairly substantial number of miles? And that's because I think there's a lot of benefit to running a decent run after your long run, because there's 2 things going on after a long run. Number 1, you're going to be tired. Your muscles are going to be fatigued. And number 2, you might be underfueled. You might be in a slightly carb depleted state. And so running a decent amount the day after a long run is going to help you get faster, because while you're fatigued, your slow twitch muscle fibers are very tired. Some of your fast twitch muscle fibers are going to help you out. They're going to take over from when your slow twitch fibers are because they're tired, and that's going to help boost your speed. And if you're in a slightly carb depleted state, running up to running about 9 miles or so, that's really going to help you become more efficient at burning fuel. So there's a lot of benefits to doing a decent run after a long run, and that's why I like scheduling that here. Now, in terms of workouts, you'll notice that we're just sticking to mileage here, and that's because I want to keep this fairly simple. But if we were to do a workout this week, it would probably be on Wednesday. That's because I like to maintain the principle of let's make your easy days easy, but let's make your hard days hard. So by putting the workout on Wednesday, you're putting it on the second longest run of the week. Now, we could do a couple funny things here. We could play around with the mileage here on these few days and put the workout on Tuesday. That would work as well. That would be totally feasible. Now, since we're at 60 miles a week, this is a fairly advanced level of mileage, and a runner running this amount of miles might be doing 2 workouts. And if they were, a good schedule would be Monday, Wednesday. And then this would be easy. You take a day off, and then you would start your long run on Saturday. But this is how a 60-mile week would look like. We're really making sure that we're spreading out the work over the week, and we're giving the runner enough rest, but also enough stimulus so that they can get faster. All right, let's keep the mileage levels going up. Let's look at a 70-mile week. Now we're looking at a 70-mile week. This is starting to get intense. Couple differences here. First thing you'll notice is that there are no days off. Once you start running really high mileage, there simply isn't enough time to get in all that mileage and take a day off. But you'll notice that we still have a very easy day on Friday. The other thing that you'll notice is that we have a double session here. I do have an article on strength running that outlines when you should do doubles, the benefits of doubles, how you can use doubles for both, priming yourself for faster workouts and for using them as easy recovery runs, even when it's the second run of the day. So Google double sessions on strength running. There is a search option there, and you'll get a lot more detail on that. But the premise here is that by using a double session, you can basically siphon off a little bit of mileage on your other easy days so that you're making them even easier. You don't necessarily have to do double sessions with a 70-mile week. You can do 70 miles per week in singles, so just 1 run per day. But if I were to do that, I might do something like, here, I'll do it right now. I might take all of these runs and make them a little bit longer. So we might do something like 10, 8, and 12. Let's keep that 8. Let's do 5 here. I'm sorry, 8, 5, 18, and 9. My math is right, 50-50 on that. That is 70 miles per week. And this is an example of how to do 70 miles per week in singles. Now, why would you want to do singles versus doubles? Doubles does make it a little easier to get in the mileage. I think it's a little bit counterintuitive that running twice a day makes your training easier, but it does make it a little easier. You're getting more recovery in between your mileage. You get to reduce some of the distances on your other days, but doing it in singles gives you a bigger aerobic stimulus. So there's pros and cons to doing it both ways. I think a lot of coaches, have success doing it both ways. So there's definitely not a right or wrong way to do things. It really depends on the purpose of this particular week, the runner, where you are in your training cycle, so many different variables. But this is a really nice way of breaking up a 70-mile training week. Now we're looking at an 80-mile training week. You'll see that we're really not messing around now. We have 2 double sessions, we have multiple double-digit runs, a 12-mile medium long run, 17-mile long run here on Saturday. I like this schedule. You want to know why I like this schedule? This reminds me of about 5 years of my life when I was running about 80 miles, and this is generally the structure that I followed. Now, this has roots in many college programs because you're looking at a Monday workout, a Wednesday workout. These would actually be flipped. So you would have a race on Saturday, which would be relatively low mileage, maybe 8 to 10 miles, and then a 15 to 18 mile long run on Sunday. So generally speaking, this is similar to the schedule that I ran in college. Now, a note about double sessions. If we are doing workouts on Monday and Wednesday, they're going to be during that second afternoon run of 10 miles. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would you run in the morning and then go do a workout in the afternoon? Won't you be tired? Won't you feel worse? Won't you run slower? And the answer is No, provided that you're ready for this amount of work. So as long as you're ready for 80 miles, as long as you're ready to put in a 15-mile training day within an 80-mile week, then this won't be a problem. And actually that short run in the morning is going to prime you for that afternoon workout. You're going to be more warmed up, you're going to have a better hormonal profile for running hard, and you're just going to feel better. You're going to get more results out of this kind of a schedule. Now, that doesn't mean to say you have to do it this way. You could switch these and do your workout in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you do a short, easy run. There's a lot of different ways to train. You could easily flip these and get very similar training results from it, but this is one really nice way to do it. Okay, let's look at a 90-mile week, and then we're going to look at a 100-mile week before I do a couple quick questions and then a few principles that you can use to structure your own mileage. Have you ever wondered how people run 90 miles a week? This is one way to do it. We're maintaining our 2 double sessions of the week. We're maintaining our long run. We still have a very strong medium long run in here. And I hope by this point you can see that mileage scales. It doesn't matter if you're running 90 miles a week or if you're running 40 miles a week, less than half that distance. Many of the principles remain exactly the same. And that's one of the reasons why I love running. You can take someone who's running 30 miles a week, 60 miles a week, 100 miles a week, and you can give them very similar training because it adheres to the same principles, the same fundamentals that make everyone a faster, better runner. Doesn't matter if you're running 30 minutes for 5K or 15 minutes for 5K. That's what I love about running. Now, this week is not too much different than the 80-mile week we just looked at. Very similar. Things are going to change a little bit more dramatically when we get to 100 miles a week. So let's take a look. And here we have it, the 100-mile training week, the training week that always eluded me, never got up that high. I'm tired just looking at it, but what do we see here? So first things first, we'll see that we're now running double sessions 3 times. So we are running twice, 3 times in 1 week, which is fatiguing. It feels like you're constantly either getting ready for a run, running, or recovering from a run, but it's necessary to get in 100 miles in 1 week. Now, one of the sneaky things that you'll notice about a 100-mile week with 3 double sessions and a 90-mile week with 2 double sessions is that a lot of these runs are actually the same or shorter than the 90-mile week. So our Sunday run is a mile less. Now our long run's longer, but on Thursday we have a double. On Tuesday our medium long run is shorter. And really what we're doing is we're just lengthening some of the short morning runs. So from short to just not as short, but they're still relatively short for someone doing this level of mileage. And the reason there is that in this kind of a mileage structure, you're running 100 miles a week. It's a lot of volume. It's a very high workload. And so by splitting it up as much as we can here, what we're doing is we're really making it easier to do. You know, running 100 miles a week, for example, in singles, very challenging. I don't know a lot of people who do that. But splitting it up into many runs throughout the week, so in this case 10 runs, meaning you're really only averaging 10 miles per run. So it's a lot more doable, but again, only if you are ready for it. If you're not ready for an 18-mile day, even if it's split up, then you're not ready for it, period. So I would encourage you, don't jump into this. This is simply an example to give you an idea of what a very high mileage week looks like. So then what you can do is you can take a look at this week, you can take a look at a 40-mile week, which might be a much more appropriate goal for you, and then you can see how the principles stay the same as you go from low to high mileage, and then you can take some of those principles with you to build your own training plan or structure your own weekly mileage. All right, we've looked at mileage templates. We've looked at the principles that influence those mileage templates. Now let's do some Q&A. And I have to give a shout out to one of our Team Strength Running members for giving me the idea for this video. I had never thought of it before, but I think it's a great addition to our library. All these different templates. Now you really have some good examples for how to build your own mileage levels throughout the week. Okay, let's do some Q&A. The first question that I got was, at what point do you start running 7 days a week? At what mileage level is 7 runs per week appropriate? And I tend to think somewhere between 50 and 60 miles per week is when it's appropriate to start running 7 days a week. If you're not running those high mileage levels, you probably don't need to run all 7 days of the week. You can structure your mileage in such a way that you get a day or two off. And I think that's not only going to make sure that those runs are long enough to elicit the training adaptations that you actually want, but they're also going to be long enough that it'll give you those off days, those rest days, so that you can really prioritize gaining as much fitness as you can on the days that you're running, while at the same time resting enough so that you can recover properly and you're going to be ready to hit that workout or that long run with the appropriate intensity when the time comes. All right, our next question is, at what point should you start running doubles? Or in other words, 2 runs per week. And here I think it's appropriate somewhere between the 60 to 70 mile a week range. Now you saw here an example of a 70-mile training week in doubles with a double session once a week, and you saw it in singles. So you can run 70 miles a week in singles, but I think somewhere between 6 and 70 it's appropriate to start thinking about adding in a double session. It's going to make some of your other runs a lot easier throughout the week, and then if you use that double as a priming workout earlier in the day, it's really going to make your faster session a lot more productive. So that's the structure that I tend to fall back on. I've found it to work time and time again. A lot of coaches use it, and quite simply, it produces results. All right, third question. What's an easy day at all these levels of mileage? And this is really a very relative question because it really depends. Someone running 100 miles a week, a 10-mile day is going to feel like a vacation. They're going to find that very, very easy. So they might only run 8, 9, 10 miles on a given day, and that's their easy day. Now for us mere mortals, 10 miles may not be a recovery day. I think for the average runner, running 20, 30, 40 miles a week, your easy day is going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 miles. And you'll see here too that even in the 80-mile a week, I made sure to include that Friday, if you remember, as a 5-mile day because I'm really bullish on making your easy days easy. I don't want to make every day the same amount of mileage. I want to polarize your training. Let's make some days really high, but some days really short. And so 3 to 5 is generally the distance that I fall back on for an easy day. This is where you're going to run really slow, you're going to focus on recovery, you're not going to do anything hard. Even your strength work that day, there's no cross training, all that is really, really easy too. So I think as long as you feel rested and recovered on a recovery run, then that is a recovery run for you. Once you start getting up to 80 plus miles a week, that might be a 7-mile run. For most runners though, stick with 3 to 5. All right, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you thought it was interesting to look at some of the really high mileage weeks and how those were split up. Now, the one thing I really want to underscore here is that, weekly mileage is really important, but at the same time, I would much rather you do moderately high mileage over a long period of time rather than shoot for the moon and try to get that really high mileage week once or twice only to risk a serious injury. So for example, I would much rather you run 40, 45 miles a week for 3 months rather than get up to 55 or 60 for 2 weeks and then, miss a bunch of time because of injury or you're just feeling really tired and burned out. So, above all, it's the consistency of your mileage that is ultimately the most important thing over a long period of time. Now, before you take off, there's 2 resources here for you. If you are a planner, and you can tell that I am, we have a season planner worksheet that's a free download you can get on Strength Running. Just go to strengthrunning.com/season planner. There's a hyphen in there. And this is going to walk you through how to plan your season. So this video was more about planning the weeks of mileage, but if you want to plug that into a coherent season, with tune-up races and how to know how long your season should be and a bunch of other variables, this is a really good primer on how to do that. And if you're curious about how you should build your mileage, so if right now you're at 30 miles per week and that's comfortable for you, you really want to get up to 40, how quickly should you get up there? What's the best way to jump from where you are now to where you want to be? I wrote an article for Competitor magazine here called A Smarter Way to Increase Running Mileage. So if you just Google this and maybe Fitzgerald or Competitor, I'm sure it'll be the top result on Google. And this gives you a really good idea of a different way to think about building your mileage. So it's not the 10% rule. I think that's kind of outdated and incomplete. This is going to give you a better framework for understanding the building phase of your mileage. All right, I hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a real blast for me to put this together. I'm Jason Fitzgerald from Strength Running, and I'll see you next time.